Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. Hope you are doing well. I am Dr. Nilofer Yusuf from Pharmacology Department, here to demonstrate about fluoroquinolones to you people. Well, our today's lecture is about fluoroquinolones, and it is very important from the examination point of view. A question from this topic is almost must. If it do not come in SCQ, but the questions will be present in the form of MCQs, or Viva questions are must. So what are learning objectives of our today lecture are, we should, by the end of the lecture you should have ample knowledge about history of fluoroquinolones, classification of fluoroquinolones, their antibacterial spectrum, how resistance is developed against fluoroquinolones, what are various clinical uses of fluoroquinolones, adverse effects related to fluoroquinolones, drug interactions, and newer drugs in process of development. Having a slight glimpse of introduction, the quinolones are a family of synthetic broad-spectrum antibiotic with bactericidal activity. Over here, I want to say that kindly make your own list of bactericidal antibiotics and bacteriostatic. It would be really helpful for you in terms of your Viva questions and MCQ questions. If a question comes that all of the following are bactericidal drugs except, you can pick like this. But without a second glance, you will pick the right drug and answer it. So kindly make your own list. Continuing our lecture, the term quinolone refers to potent synthetic chemotherapeutic antibacterial agent. What is history of fluoroquinolones? It is the first generation of the quinolones, begins with nalidixic acid in 1962 for the treatment of UTIs, urinary tract infections in humans. Nalidixic acid was discovered by George Schleicher and co-workers in a distillate during an attempt at chloroquine synthesis. So it would be not wrong to say that it was an accidental discovery or development of nalidixic acid as a byproduct of synthesis of the antimalarial compound chloroquine. Fluoroquinolones or quinolones are divided into two major groups, that are quinolones, that are older drugs, and then the newer group of drugs comes, and those are fluoroquinolones. When fluorination of quinolones is done, they are converted into fluoroquinolones. Highly protein bound, and they are mostly used in UTI, as I'm talking about quinolones first generation. They are highly protein bound and they are mostly used in UTI as they do not get good systemic levels. Fluoroquinolones, they consist of 3 generations, second, third and fourth, and they are modified form of first generation quinolones. They are not highly protein bound, and if they are not highly protein bound, they have capacity to distribute widely into the body, systemic fluids. So they are widely distributed to urine and other tissues, and they have limited penetration into CSF. Here comes the classification. This classification, don't learn this table. Okay? I just want to tell you the difference how by the passage of time newer generation developed and which was better than the before one, and it is the main difference between various generations of fluoroquinolones, that every next generation is better in activity in comparison to the previous one. So the first generation was good enough against gram-negative bacteria, aerobics, and they were used mainly for UTIs, low UTIs, not so severe infections. Then second generations came into existence, and they were active against gram-positive bacteria, aerobic, improved activity against gram-negative bacteria. Just emphasize on the word improved. Here comes the third generation. They were good enough against anaerobics. See the difference. First two generations were against aerobics, and then the development changed them into against anaerobic bacteria too. Gram-positive bacteria, particularly pneumococci. Then comes the fourth generation. They are active against anaerobic bacteria, and their activity is more good, or is increased activity against pneumococci. This is the structure. See, this is quinolone, ठीक है जी, and here is fluorination by adding the fluoride group. And you can see every portion, every other thing, chemical structure, every point is important, and it is busy and having its own kind of mechanism or action against bacteria. How various points are occupied their own activity against bacteria. I really like this diagram and added it into my lecture. You can see how fluorinated portion is controlling bacterial gyrase and is against bacterial potency. How the R5 is control potency, adds gram-positive activity, and similarly you can see different portions against bacteria activity. So here is the development of quinolones, how quinolones were developed over the passage of time. As I told you before that it was discovered in 1962, and it was totally accidental discovery. The first most discovered compound was nalidixic acid. By the passage of time, slowly and gradually, its spectrum was broadened, and how they were evolved from lower urinary tracts to upper respiratory tract infections. You can see group B is nominated as respiratory agents, and this is very important MCQ, and I have mentioned this thing afterwards too, so note it down from there. So the fluoroquinolones are a relatively new group of antibiotics. They were first introduced in 1986, but they are really modified quinolones, a class of antibiotics whose accidental discovery occurred in early 1960. Sorry for the background screens. So fluoroquinolones. This is novel group of synthetic antibiotics developed in response to growing resistance. Agents available today are all structural derivatives of nalidixic acid. I have shown you that main structure of quinolones is just that of nalidixic acid. After fluorination, it is changed into different structures which are active against different bacteria. The fluorinated quinolones represent a major therapeutic advance as their spectrum is broadened. Their pharmacokinetic properties are improved, including including excellent bioavailability, tissue penetration, prolonged half-lives, and overall safety is enhanced. Disadvantages are also there, such as resistance and its expenses. So this is the official classification of fluoroquinolones. Quinolones include nalidixic acid, and fluoroquinolones include different generations, such as first generation is same as quinolones, nalidixic acid. Second generation prototypes or often used drugs are ciprofloxacin and levofloxacin, whereas third generation include getafloxacin, grapafloxacin, pezofloxacin, sparfloxacin, tosufloxacin. Then comes the fourth generation, clinafloxacin, gemfloxacin, moxifloxacin, very important drug, and trovafloxacin. Very important question from the examination point of view, mechanism of action of fluoroquinolones. Actually, what they do, they target DNA synthesis by inhibit DNA gyrase and topoisomerase 4. DNA gyrase is actually responsible for removing excess positive supercoiling in the DNA helix. And this is a point where it is primarily targeted by the fluoroquinolones. Then fluoroquinolones target topoisomerase 4. Topoisomerase 4 is actually essential for separation of interlinked daughter DNA molecules. So if there is no separation of daughter DNA molecules, what will happen? This cell will become more permeable to disruption. ठीक है जी, और सेल स्ट्रक्चर ही उसका ख़त्म हो जाएगा, जो बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट होता है सर्वाइवल के लिए. Fluoroquinolones display concentration dependent bactericidal activity. Mechanism of resistance. Whenever there is alteration in the structure, mutation, resistance is developed. So alter target sites, chromosomal mutations in genes that code for DNA gyrase or topoisomerase 4. So what will happen? Resistance will develop. Altered cell wall permeable, decreased porin expression. Expression of active efflux, which just transfers fluoroquine or push out fluoroquine out of the cell. There are also additional mechanisms which account for its resistance, and they are actually plasmid mediated resistance, and they are of two types. The first type utilizes QNR proteins which protect DNA gyrase from the fluoroquinolones. Whereas I just discussed that DNA gyrase is the primary, foremost target site for fluoroquinolones to attack and produce its mechanism of action. If there are protection or there is some security for DNA gyrase, so fluoroquine will fail to act. Then the second is variant of an aminoglycoside acetyltransferase capable of modifying ciprofloxacin. What they will do, they will just modify the drug. First was protecting DNA gyrase, whereas second mechanism is they totally modify the drug and it will fail to produce this mechanism of action. Both mechanisms confer low-level resistance that may facilitate the point mutation that confer high-level resistance. And it is also related to other antibacterial drug resistance. Over here, I skipped one thing. It was on purpose that fluoroquinolones class also show cross resistance between the class. ठीक है, अगर एक के अगेंस्ट रेजिस्टेंस होगा तो वो पूरी क्लास के अगेंस्ट रेजिस्टेंस शो करेगी. Having a gland-side spectrum of fluoroquinolones, antibacterial spectrum, well, they are active against gram-positive bacteria, especially older ones, older agents with poor activity, whereas your fluoroquines are with enhanced potency. They are against methicillin susceptible Staphylococcus aureus. Then comes Streptococcus pneumoniae. Then it has limited activity, but still it has activity against viridins, streptococci, and then comes Enterococcus. They have a very good activity against gram-negative, and potency increases this way that maximum potency is against Cipro and Levo. And then potency against gram-negative is shown by gettifloxacin, and then comes moxifloxacin. This is the antibacterial spectrum against which gram-negative bacterial spectrum against which our fluoroquinolones are active. Then aerobic class comes, and over here only trovafloxacin has adequate activity against bacteroids. Then comes atypical bacteria. All fluoroquinolones have excellent activity against atypical bacteria, including the following, like pneumophilia, and it is drug of choice against pneumophilia. Then chlamydia, mycoplasma, ureaplasma, and other drugs come Mycobacterium tuberculosis, Bacillus anthracis. Over here, I want to say that it is now being added in the therapy against TB, tuberculosis, Ciprobi or levofloxacin B. So you should be knowing this new thing, as you are our future doctors. Now we said that by the passage of time, drugs are modified into more good groups. ठीक है जी, नेलिटेक्सिक एसिड था, उसकी इतनी अच्छी फार्माकोकाइनेटिक्स नहीं थी in comparison to newer generations. So let's see the pharmacokinetics. They are actually concentration dependent bacterial killing, and their efficacy is correlated with that. Most fluoroquinolones have good bioavailability after oral administration. After oral administration, the fluoroquinolones are well absorbed. Their bioavailability is about 80 to 95%. But their oral absorption is impaired by divalent and trivalent cations, including those in antacids. So they should be taken 2 hours before or 4 hours after any products containing these cations. Even I will say that co-administration with food delays the peak concentration. So keep this thing in mind, and in case anybody taking antibiotics such as ciprofloxacin or levofloxacin at your homes, so ask them to avoid taking them during meals or with meals. Serum half-life ranges from 3 to 10 hours. The relatively long half-lives of levofloxacin, gemifloxacin and moxifloxacin permit once daily dosing. They are extensively distributed in various tissues, and they have minimal CSF penetrations as discussed before. They are eliminated through renal and hepatic mechanisms. Most fluoroquinolones are eliminated by renal mechanisms, either they are tubular secretion or glomerular filtration. So dose adjustment is needed or is required for patients with renal impairment. Whereas moxifloxacin is only exception. Note this point for the MCQ, that moxifloxacin is only exception which is metabolized in the liver. So it should be used with caution in patients having hepatic failure. This is a diagram from your Beck-Gadsden, and I really liked it, so I included this thing in my lecture. Look at this. Ciprofloxacin has 3 to 5 hours half-life. It is 7%. It gives 70% bioavailability, and if they are given in 500 milligram, they are needed twicely, and their primary route of excretion. You can compare various drugs of different groups with each other through this table. I really like this table. Coming towards the clinical uses, and starting with clinical uses, I just want to show you people these two pictures which are frequently used in our setups. This is ciproxin. This is actually ciprofloxacin, and recommended dose is mostly 500 milligram BD. मतलब कि twicely. You have to give twicely a day. And then comes levoflox. Levofloxacin is the salt, and it is also 500 milligram, and it is also known as Leflox. Here I'll give an example. If somebody is having respiratory infection, so people say Leflox le lo. So actually, what is that Leflox? They say that is levofloxacin. You have seen patients saying or people saying at your home, that मैंने लीवोफ्लॉक्सिसिन का कोर्स किया है, लीवोफ्लॉक्स का कोर्स किया है. तो एक्चुअली इट इज़ fluoroquinolone, sorry, and it is used for upper respiratory tract infections. Then comes ciprofloxacin. Mostly what happens using public washrooms, or some problems exist that one gets infected, urine tract infection. Sorry. So what happened? They are prescribed ciprofloxacin, flagyl. So ciprofloxacin is given for gram-negative coverage, and this is that ciprofloxacin used for UTIs, urinary tract infections, commonly. Let's see the clinical uses. They are used for urinary tract infections. Nalidixic acid was commonly used, and but it don't have any systemic circulation levels, so they are just limited to UTIs. Then they are used for prostatitis, sexually transmitted diseases, PIDs, pelvic inflammatory diseases, gastrointestinal abdominal infections. They are very much used for respiratory tract infections. Here I have to add that they are also being now used as drug of choice for diarrhea. ठीक है जी. Then they are used for bones, joints and soft tissue infections. As I told that it is widely distributed towards bones and tissues and various soft tissues. The quinolones may be used as part of multiple drug regimens for the treatment of multi-drug resistant tuberculosis, just discussed before, for the treatment of atypical mycobacterial infections as well as Mycobacterium avium complex infections in AIDS. They are used in neutropenic cancer patients with fever, and the combination of a quinolone with an aminoglycoside is comparable to beta-actam aminoglycoside combinations, but it is less effective when used as single drug, and resistance may develop against it. Then they are used for fever in low-risk patients with granulocytopenia secondary to cancer chemotherapy. Here comes our respiratory fluoroquinolones. These lines are from Vic Gadsden, and I really want you to note these things in your notes or notebook, wherever you write things, because this can be your SCQ or MCQ तो must है. फिर अगर SCQ नहीं आया तो let's see what are they. With the enhanced gram-positive activity and activity against atypical pneumonia agents like chlamydia, mycoplasma and legionella, levofloxacin, gemifloxacin, moxifloxacin are so-called respiratory fluoroquinolones, and they are effective for treatment of lower respiratory tract infections. As I discussed before, that Leflox word is very common in our household languages. So what are respiratory fluoroquinolones? They are levofloxacin, gemifloxacin, moxifloxacin. And in my during my graduation, during my medical school time, I just learned them as LGM, substitute of LGS, LGM, levofloxacin, gemifloxacin and moxifloxacin. Adverse effects commonly seen are nausea, vomiting and diarrhea. There are headache, agitation, neuropathy. Neuropathy is very, very important adverse effect related to this fluoroquinolones group, and they can even lead to permanent neuropathy. It is written in your Vic Gadsden that in 2016 they were given the warning, and they are limited. Their usage is limited in Europe and USA towards lower infected diseases where other options are not available or resistance has been developed, when they are not used due to their adverse effect causing neuropathy. So then comes hepatotoxicity. Phototoxicity is uncommon with current fluoroquinolones, but they were was one of the major side effects with older fluoroquinolones, and it was due to halogen and position 8. Then they are responsible for prolongation of QT interval. That's why we say that history is important during your clinical rotations. Before prescribing the drugs, you people should have take proper history from your patients. TKG, from there you can pick the points. If a patient is saying that he is having prolongation, QT interval prolongation issue, so you are not going to advise him fluoroquinolones, as they are by themselves responsible for prolongation of QT interval. And that's why drugs such as grapafloxacin and sparfloxacin are banned and they are withdrawn from the market. They are responsible for articular damage, arthropathy including articular cartilage damage, arthralgias and joint swellings. And this effect was seen in immature dogs, and mice were also exposed to this effect, and that's why they are contraindicated in children. Less than 18 years they are not given, they are contraindicated. So we will say they are contraindicated in pediatric patients and pregnant or breastfeeding women. Other adverse effects are like tendon rupture, and this may cause they may be present in adults even, not children only, lead to tendinitis. Then they are responsible for dysglycemias, hypersensitivity. Now coming towards their drug interactions. As I said that they have their drug interactions with divalent and trivalent cations. Their absorption is interfered with these cations present. So they should be avoided with food intake. So all fluoroquinolones, their absorption will be impaired with zinc, iron, calcium, aluminium, magnesium, then antacids, sucralfate, enteral feedings. If their oral absorption of orally administered may lead to clinical failure, so we should administer those 2 hours before meal or 4 hours after meal. Over here I want to say one thing which I forgot to discuss before, that is drug absorption is equal in oral or by the oral route as well as enteral route. If we are giving fluoroquinolone, its bioavailability or absorption will be same as by oral route and enteral route. There will be no marked difference between two different modes of administration. Then what happens, theophylline and cyclosporin में क्या होता है? They inhibit the metabolism, increase their levels and increase toxicity. Then their drug interactions with warfarin are also observed. Here comes the nalidixic acid, which we do not discuss before in detail, and that is they do not get any systemic label. As we have discussed before, they are only used for lower UTIs and they are always given with combination of other drugs. And if they are given for prophylaxis of lower UTIs or urinary tract infections, they are given as single strength 3 times per week. And it is a very big dose, so we treat acute UTI as trimethoprim and co-trimoxazole. This is the empirical therapy table for different UTIs, how we use. If there is acute pyelonephritis, so we will give ciprofloxacin and ofloxacin. Then for chronic pyelonephritis, same therapy will be repeated, but the duration of therapy will be 3 to 6 months. Then comes acute cystitis. Ciprofloxacin is used in it, and other groups as norfloxacin, ofloxacin. And in acute bacterial prostatitis, same doses and same treatment is repeated. So I have made a table for you people having just nominating different diseases and how at what different doses same drug is being repeatedly used and what is their mode of action. So now coming towards our future of quinolones, as you know that today we are living in era of research, and everything is evolving from the older one to the newer one, which is better. So these are different products which are under discussion and under research work, such as J&J EQ2. They are being tested for acute bacterial skin and skin structure infections and community-acquired pneumonia and against MRSA. Then comes Delafloxacin. They are being checked or researched against gram-positive bacteria such as MRSA, and it carries anionic character. We have Pneumonoxacin. It is non-fluorinated quinolone. As we discussed before, fluoroquinolones meaning fluorinated quinolones. So it is another development, non-fluorinated quinolones, and it is undergoing clinical trials. So development of quinolones sensitive to DNA-related enzymes are also being used for cancer chemotherapy. Thank you so much. This was our today's lecture. If there are any kind of questions, so you people are more than welcome to ask me in your WhatsApp group, personally, wherever you want, and I just go through this lecture twice, and then I'm going to give you an assignment in your WhatsApp group, and I hope you will do that in time and properly. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.